Okay, so yesterday I went over to my grandmother's place to help her do some tech support on her computer. I ended up getting a ride home from my younger sister, so I ended up leaving my bike there. Well, I worked the overnight shift today, so I figured before I go to bed, I'm going to walk up to my grandmother's place, get my bike back, and then come home. I, of course, bring my radio with me so I can listen to the BBC. And, much to my surprise, a story that I've been following for some time finally has resolution. For any of you who have been following it, the Martin versus Zemmerman verdict finally came in. It's only been about 1.5 years since that thing happened. And it turns out that Daniel Zemmerman will not be spending time in prison for the murder of Trayvon Martin, as the verdict came up time served. Which, I don't know the laws of the area, but I guess they came to the conclusion that there was not enough evidence to suggest that this was murder or even manslaughter. There's no question as to whether or not the bullet that killed Trayvon Martin came from Daniel Zimmerman's gun. There's not question as to whether or not Daniel Zemmerman was the one who shot the gun. Now, this case got an extraordinary amount of media coverage for all the wrong reasons. It was because it was a white man who killed a black man. This apparently led to a great deal of talks about civil rights. I feel like I'm too white to be sitting here talking to you. And my grandmother's from Spain. That makes me Mexican, for God's sake. Not that you would ever know by talking to me. So, I really wanted to make a video response to this. I really wanted to say something about this as more or less a vlog than anything else. Because I feel like this was not right. But even theistically, there's nothing that could have made it right. Regardless of whether Zimmerman goes to prison, there's still a dead body. And you can't make up for that. Life is something that has to be measured in experience. And unfortunately, age and experience are not two separate entities. From the beginning of the trial, I'd kind of been biting my tongue, not wanting to speculate as to what was going to happen. Because even if I was right, I was still wrong. Now, this goes back to the question I had asked about what is the functionality of the justice system? What is it supposed to do? Now, there's still the issue of whether or not Zimmerman was actually assaulted. That has no closure to it that I was able to see. So the only thing we know for certain is that somebody died and Daniel Zimmerman was responsible. But what do you do with that information? Again, I have to say, context matters. As somebody who is interested in the defensive arts, I know that sometimes that is the only possible resolution. The fight is over when somebody is on the floor. But it doesn't make it easy. That doesn't make it right. I guess I really want to extend my condolences to the Martin family. And I just feel confused about my emotions right now and figured that talking to the camera could resolve it in some way. I am not a racist. I can assure you of that. My best friend and roommate is a man of African descent. His mother was from Sweden. The identity of his father is unknown. So, all we can assume is that he is who he is. And again, this is a byproduct of upbringing. I'm colorblind and ethnic blind. I have no point with this. So, Trayvon Martin, to your family, I have to say, I'm sorry that the trial went the way it did. It wasn't right, but the laws of the land dictated that there was not enough evidence to call this a murder. There was not enough evidence to call this manslaughter, and so, that having been the ground you took, Daniel Zimmerman gets to walk home tonight with only the weight of this life on his shoulders. I served in the National Guard from 2000 to 2001 before I was dismissed for health reasons. I never had to fire my gun. So I have no idea what that must mean for somebody. And I don't want to know. As an artist, I can imagine it. But I can be certain that the anguish that he is going to feel for the rest of his life, Daniel Zimmerman, is beyond my scope of experience. Maybe prison just isn't right for some people. Maybe having to go home at night with the knowledge of what he did and having to explain to his family what it means, why he did it, is the only punishment that the courts thought appropriate. I'm not going to use this as a video response to anything. I'm going to post this up raw and just let my audience look at it if they so please. This is just my response to the verdict of the Daniel Zimmerman trial and Trayvon Martin, respectively. I'm just perplexed by the idea of how can you know for certain what happened but be so unclear as to why it happened? This is Dustin Fader, author of the book Red Twilight, signing off. I guess you call it